So today we're going to talk about two of my favorite companies, Apple and Tesla. And so it's rumored that Apple is coming out with a new electric vehicle in 2024. We're going to talk about why this could be a slow-moving car wreck disaster for Apple and some of the implications for EVs and the future of self-driving technology. Let's jump in. For over the last 6 years, Apple has been working on a secret project called Project Titan. And the goal of the project is to produce a revolutionary new vehicle, sometimes dubbed the Apple Car. First, on the positive side, Apple actually has a lot of technical expertise in terms of building complex products. They build computers and phones, they build complex products. They're familiar with manufacturing hardware, and they're familiar with supply chain. Operationally, this will help Apple a lot in terms of producing something and knowing some of the mechanics behind building a hardware product and then generating some of the customer demand. Apple also has some familiarity with in-car user interfaces, specifically with their experience with CarPlay, which they've been in the car user interface space for a number of years, and they have some of the relationships with car manufacturers. And the other advantage that I think Apple has is its developer ecosystem. Again, most of the cars that we're familiar with don't really have a notion of a developer ecosystem, but I actually think that this will come into play in several years. Now, on the challenges side, I think Apple has an uphill battle in a couple areas. The first is battery technology. While Apple has traditionally put batteries in their phones and batteries in their computers, innovation in battery technology is not necessarily something that they're known for, and certainly not at the scale of an automotive battery, which are growing in size and capacity. So on the battery front, they have kind of two choices to think about. One, they can either leverage existing battery technology. The problem with that strategy is that this is exactly what all of their competitors are doing. So that means there's going to be a supply chain issue on the battery front if they use other people's technology. On the flip side, if they try to invent their own technology, if they try to revolutionize the battery front with some new advancement, they're going to be constrained on the manufacturing and scalability of that battery front as well. While Apple has experience manufacturing things like computers, the complexity of manufacturing a large product like a car is very different. They're going to have to find a partner to help them manufacture if they want to keep to that particular timetable. Rumors say that they're working with Hyundai and their division Kia to actually produce and manufacture the car, and starting that process now. Again, if you back up the clock, it may take a year or more to actually produce a factory capable of building a car. So they have a long roadway in terms of building that product. Beyond the battery, I think they actually have some challenges on the software side, and it really breaks down into two pieces. One is the user interface of the application, the car interface. And I actually think that Apple has a pretty good team and is capable of building that technology. But the other software component that's really going to be a challenge is artificial intelligence. They're going to have to be able to master autonomous driving. So many other car companies are competing for autonomous driving technology, and frankly, they've been doing it for over a decade. So Apple has a lot of catching up to do in terms of autonomous driving. The other twist in the story for autonomous driving is that Apple has been heavily investing in LiDAR technology. LiDAR technology is the sensing technology that's used on iPads and iPhones to give depth information for augmented reality. Apple has bet very heavily on LiDAR technology, and while Apple may think that this is an asset, competitors like Tesla have for years been saying that LiDAR is a fool's errand.
Is that a plastic bag or is that a tire? A LiDAR might just give you a few points on that, but vision can tell you which one of those two is true, and that impacts your control.
LiDAR is a fool's errand, and anyone relying on LiDAR is doomed. Doomed.
Lastly, on the software side, Apple really has a challenge in terms of the data that's necessary to build a fully self-driving car. It's not just about the software, the hardware, the chips, which Apple is actually really good at. It's about the data, being able to have millions of miles driven in a particular car and learning from that data. That just takes a lot of miles driven and a lot of time iterating on that algorithm to get it right. Tesla already has a 5-year head start on the technology, and by 2024 they will have almost a 9-year head start in terms of learning from the data and getting better at iterating their algorithm and iterating how that gets rolled out to more and more people. The second area to talk about is the team, and to build a self-driving car and to build one that's world-class, you really have to assemble a world-class team. Apple has been continuously recruiting people from Tesla and poaching some of the best talent from Tesla to come over to Apple. This has kind of been a revolving door, and over the last 5 years, there have been a lot of talent that have actually moved from Tesla over to Apple. The challenge is that moving some of the talent that's familiar with autonomous driving or self-driving technology or EVs from one company that has the experience, has the expertise, and has the momentum to a company that does not create that momentum in the new company. More so, it does not create leadership in the new company either. While Apple wants to build an EV car, it's not clear why they want to build it or how it fits into the larger strategy for where Apple is going. Historically, Apple has been a personal computing device. It's been about personal computers, it's been about personal phones, it's been about that self-empowerment of creativity. And how the car fits into that overall strategy isn't clear at all. In fact, I'm not even sure why Apple wants to be in this particular business. Electric vehicles, solar, charging, infrastructure, that's not really where Apple has been historically, and it really feels like they're chasing a competitor rather than really setting their own foundation of where they want to go as a business. Because of that lack of leadership and clarity in terms of where they're going, I think it's going to be problematic for them to find some of the best talent to work on this project over at Apple. Now, in terms of timing, Apple has to really plan ahead in terms of where some of their competitors are going to be in 3 years. So not just Tesla, but looking at Porsche, looking at VW, looking at BMW, looking at Audi, looking at some of the other competitors, and looking at where their cars are going to be in terms of advancement, in terms of self-driving, in terms of sense, in terms of entertainment systems. Now, they're going to make progress in those coming 3 years, and we're seeing larger companies like Ford and GM spending more and more energy on innovative user interfaces in those cars as well. A lot of these incumbents aren't going to be happy with Apple stepping up to the plate and learning about manufacturing and trying to muscle into their territory. So they're going to have to plan for what that car of the future will look like and make sure that they can be competitive in terms of battery technology, in terms of entertainment expectations, and self-driving capabilities that will be commonplace by 2024. The other consideration for 2024 isn't just the car, but the charging infrastructure itself. Tesla's been building a supercharging network where chargers across the entire United States and really around the world to make it easy to drive these cars longer and longer distances. By 2024, we can expect over 3,000 supercharging stations around the world. For Apple to compete, they're going to have their own charging infrastructure as well. And for them to have anywhere close to that same capacity, they need to get started on charging today. Actually, yesterday. They are way behind in terms of having a competitive product by 2024. They're really going to have to think about not just the car itself, but how that car fits into a larger ecosystem and some of the challenges of doing so. So we talked about tech, team, and timing, and the last is financials. Apple is a huge company. They do over $60 billion a quarter. To put that in perspective, Tesla does $60 billion a year. And so Apple is significantly larger. For Apple to make a dent in its bottom line, it really needs products that really can push billions of dollars in value and revenue to make an impact on the overall Apple business. I've estimated this to be about $5-6 billion a quarter, and that's roughly in line with its iPad business. If we assume around $80,000 a car, Apple would have to produce 250,000 Apple cars to move that needle on their business to get to that $20 billion range. So 250,000 cars is a Herculean task. It took Tesla 3 years to get to those types of production numbers with the Model 3, and that's after it had years of experience with the Roadster, Model S, and Model X as well. For Apple to hit those numbers out of the gate would be absolutely astounding. I think they're actually going to hit much more conservative numbers, and so that begs the question, is the car going to be perceived as a flop? I actually think it will be. In the first years, it's going to move small numbers. These are the same problems that Tesla had when they were entering the market, and it took them 10 years of iteration to get through some of those challenges of sales, service, supercharging, and infrastructure to get to a vehicle that's really shaping and changing the world. If Apple wants to push some of its $192 billion forward in a long-term bet of sustainability, of autonomous driving, of robo-taxis, I think they can really be a competitor in that space. but if Apple is going to enter into the space, it is going to be a long-term bet. I'm really excited to see Apple enter the field and think it'll be a welcome competitor to push some of the state-of-the-art in terms of artificial intelligence, computing, and sensing technology, not to mention the app ecosystem that I think Apple is going to really ignite with their entrant into the market. So what do you think about the Apple Car? Do you think it's coming? Do you think 2024 is going to happen? Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. My name is Raiz. I talk about technology, entrepreneurship, and design. I'll catch you on the next one.